Shalom. I'm Eddie Chumney of Hebraic Heritage Ministries, and we welcome you to this week's Focus Israel Report. In this week's report, we're going to be sharing with you regarding the current status of the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, as well as the details of an Israeli airstrike into Syria, wherein Israel tried to prevent the transfer of weapons to the Shiite Muslim group Hezbollah in Lebanon. The current situation with the peace process is as follows. El Salvador became the last Central American country to establish diplomatic ties with the Palestinian Authority. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited China in the past week, and China gave their perspective on what an Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement should look like. It consisted of 4 basic principles, which includes the following. Number 1, a Palestinian state should be based upon 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital, and Israel has a right to exist, and their security concerns should be met in any peace agreement. Number 2, Israel should quit building Jewish homes in the West Bank, lift the blockade of the Gaza Strip, and release Palestinian prisoners. Negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians should take place so that a peace agreement can be agreed upon between them. Number 3, a peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians should be based upon the principle of land for peace, taking into consideration past United Nations resolutions and the 2002 Arab Peace Initiative. Number 4, the international community should provide certain guarantees for progress in the peace talks. In other news relating to the peace process, the civil administration in the West Bank approved the construction of 296 new homes in the settlement of Beit El. The new homes planned for construction were a part of a 2012 agreement whereby the settlers peacefully left their homes located at the Olpana outpost, which an Israeli court determined was built on privately owned Palestinian land, and in return for leaving their homes, that new homes would be built in Beit El. The United States responded by saying that the Israeli announcement to build new homes in Beit El were counterproductive, and Israelis must recognize that continued settlement activity is counterproductive to the cause of peace, and that an independent Palestine must be viable with real borders that have to be drawn. In any event, Benjamin Netanyahu talked with Housing Minister Uri Ariel and asked him to stop promotion of new projects in the West Bank, including no longer putting up for bids tenders on new housing projects. This move meant that Netanyahu was essentially ordering another West Bank construction freeze. Last week, Housing Minister Ariel warned that his political party, Jewish Home, would not support the 2013 budget in the Israeli Knesset unless construction projects in the West Bank settlements are fully funded. Ariel said, "I turned to the Prime Minister today and warned him that if the 2013 budget doesn't include full funding for building projects in the West Bank, including those decided upon in reaction to the Palestinians' unilateral statehood bid at the United Nations this past November, and additional projects, Jewish Home would consider it a violation of the coalition agreement and wouldn't support the budget unless the solution was found for the promised funds." While neither Netanyahu nor Housing Minister Ariel immediately responded to the report, Jewish Home Knesset member Ayelet Shaked said that the Housing and Construction Ministry has prepared tenders that it is interested in issuing in the West Bank settlement blocks. They require the Prime Minister's signature, and for some reason that is not happening, and it's a shame. There are many housing units ready to be tendered. Previously, Netanyahu promised U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry that he would put on hold construction in the West Bank settlements until the middle of June. However, Deputy Defense Minister Danny Danon said that there will be no construction freeze in the land of Israel, not in Jerusalem and not in the West Bank. Israel proved in the past that freezing construction does not advance peace, and therefore we will continue to build throughout the land of Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu is in favor of a national referendum on any peace agreement that would be signed with the Palestinians. He is supported by the political party of Jewish Home that is led by Naftali Bennett. However, those opposed are the secular political party Yesh Atid, headed by Yair Lapid, Israel Our Home leader Avigdor Lieberman, Justice Minister Tzipi Livni, and Labor leader Shelley Yakimovich. Regarding the peace talks with the Palestinians, Justice Minister Tzipi Livni told U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry that Israel would not agree as a precondition for new talks to declare the 1967 borders as a basis for negotiations on the boundaries of a Palestinian state. Instead, she said that the border issue must be resolved through direct peace negotiations. Furthermore, Jewish Home leader Naftali Bennett said, "When President Obama visited Israel in March, I said at that time that the nation cannot be an occupier in its own country, and I say now that a nation cannot be an occupier in its own capital. We are not occupying Jerusalem. Jerusalem belongs to the Jewish people. Jerusalem belongs to my grandfather's grandfather and to my grandson's grandson. Neither I nor anyone else has the right to split it. In Israel, we have no debate on one issue, and that is the unity of Jerusalem. There are not two Jerusalems, there's only one Jerusalem. And as far as we're concerned, Jerusalem is not subject to compromise, and there will be no peace without Jerusalem being the united capital of Israel." Meanwhile, Jibril Rajoub, Deputy Secretary General for Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah Central Committee, said that resistance in all of its forms remains the strategy of his party against Israel, and defined the Jewish state as the main enemy of Arabs and Muslims. Rajoub noted that Fatah too was a revolutionary movement. "If you ask me as a Palestinian, I say, our battle is with the Israeli occupation. Our main enemy, not just as Palestinians, but as Arabs and Muslims, is Israel and the Israeli occupation." He called upon all Arabs to take part in the liberation of Jerusalem. In addition, Muslim cleric Yusuf al-Qaradawi warned that no one is allowed to cede any part of Palestine. The Egyptian-born Qaradawi, who is a citizen of Qatar and is closely aligned with the Muslim Brotherhood, was heading a delegation of 50 clerics from 14 countries. He further said, "Palestine was never Jewish. Palestine is Arab and Muslim and will remain Arab and Muslim, and Islam will prevail in this fight." U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with Special Middle East Envoy Tony Blair in Rome. While in Rome, Kerry also met with Israeli Justice Minister Tzipi Livni and Jordanian Foreign Minister Nasser Judeh. Kerry said that Jordan is an important partner in the efforts to renew peace talks. In order for the peace process to succeed, Kerry said Israel needs guarantees for security. The Palestinians need guarantees for a contiguous state. Kerry cautioned that talks to resume the stalled peace process should be kept private to give everyone the chance to make tough judgments in their own appropriate space. Kerry has announced that he will return to the Middle East May the 21st or 22nd to meet again with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. Israeli Channel 2 television said that Kerry will present a peace plan based on the principle of establishing a Palestinian state on 1967 borders with minor land swaps with certain security arrangements for both the Palestinians and Israel. In commenting to this announcement, senior Palestinian negotiator Mohammed Ishtaya said that the Palestinian leadership is expecting to officially receive the written ideas and proposals from Kerry and will make a response at that time. During the annual celebration of Jerusalem Day, which celebrates the unification of Jerusalem in 1967 under Israeli sovereignty, Israel limited the entrance of Muslim worshippers to the Temple Mount while allowing access to Jewish visitors. In protest, the Jordanian parliament's lower house voted to call on the government to expel Israeli ambassador Daniel Nevo and to recall the Jordanian ambassador to Israel. Historically, the Israeli government has restricted Jews from being on the Temple Mount. Recently, Likud Knesset member Moshe Feiglin has been trying to change this, seeking to affirm the Jewish right to be on the Temple Mount. This effort has been getting the attention of the Israeli Religious Services Ministry, who is working on ways to allow Jews to pray on the Temple Mount. Finally, there is a strong secular religious divide in Israel due to the ultra-Orthodox Jews seeking to impose their religious views on the rest of the Jewish nation. The ultra-Orthodox have advocated a policy of separation between men and women on Israeli buses. However, Justice Minister Tzipi Livni wants to change this. She said back-of-the-bus seating for women on public transport in Israel will be outlawed soon. Livni instructed the Justice Ministry to draft legislation that will make any segregation of women and their humiliation in a public space a criminal offense. It will include the following mandates. Men and women may not be separated in ceremonies or events sponsored by the government or any of its ministries and health clinics, or on public transportation. Signs indicated separate sidewalks for men and women or calling for modest dress must be removed by local authorities, especially when posted in a public place. The ultra-Orthodox Kol Barama radio station will have to stop its policy of not employing female broadcasters within 6 months. Lastly, a group known as Women of the Wall, who have been trying to express their freedom of religion to pray at the Western Wall, but who are not doing it according to ultra-Orthodox custom and practice, got into a skirmish over the issue with ultra-Orthodox women. Traditionally, the Western Wall and those who go to pray there has been partitioned to look like an Orthodox synagogue, where men pray on one side and women pray on the other. The women of the Wall are seeking to change this practice, and so far they have the support of the courts of Israel. Next, I'd like to share with you the current situation with Syria, and it is as follows. Israel carried out an airstrike in Syria directed toward a shipment of advanced surface-to-surface missiles from Iran that Israel believed was intended for the Lebanese-based group Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a Shiite Islamic organization. Israel has repeatedly cautioned that it will not allow Hezbollah to receive game-changing weapons that could threaten the Israeli heartland, even if a new Syrian government takes power. According to U.S. officials, the missiles were being stored in a warehouse at Damascus International Airport where they were struck. It was the second time in 4 months that Israel has carried out an attack in Syria intended to disrupt the pipeline of weapons that runs from there to Hezbollah. Shortly after the Israeli attacks, the Israeli army posted the Iron Dome anti-missile batteries in the Israeli northern cities of Haifa and Safed to defend those cities against potential incoming Syrian and Hezbollah rockets. Iran and Hezbollah have both backed President Bashar Assad of Syria in the Syrian civil war, which is now into its 3rd year. But as fighting in Syria escalates, there has also been a powerful interest in expediting the delivery of advanced weapons to Hezbollah in case Assad loses his grip on power and Syria ceases to be an effective channel for funneling weapons from Iran. In the second day of airstrikes, Israel struck the Jamreya Military Research Center just north of Damascus. Arab sources say that Israeli rockets also hit 2 4th Division Republican Guard battalions. The 4th Division is the main Syrian military unit protecting Bashar Assad. Syria's Deputy Foreign Minister Faisal Mikdad said that the Israeli airstrike on Syria represented a declaration of war by Israel. He added that Syria would respond in the manner and timing of its own choosing. Syrian Information Minister Amrad al-Zawabi said the Israeli enemy exhibited gross aggression against Syria and used missiles to bomb military facilities in violation of all international laws. This aggression opens a door to all options for Syria. So that will conclude the report for this week. Until we do it again, Shalom in Yeshua the Messiah. Amen.